Welcome back. Now, research has repeatedly proven that reading aloud to your child is one of the most effective parenting practices that you can put into place for their development.
Our parenting expert, Dr. Mary O'Kane, joins us now to share her advice on how to make storytime an essential part of your day. And this is probably one thing I do religiously. And I feel if I scrimp on the story at night time, I've kind of knocked out the whole routine, because it is such a vital part of that routine, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Karen, and that's it. If you're the way there are nights you think, oh, I don't have time to do this, but you kind of have to. And they're going to make you, it's expected. And they love it. They do. It's bonding. You know, I know we're thinking about them academically because it has huge impact on their reading, on their comprehension, on their vocabulary. So a lot of the research would show children that are read to between 1 and 3, so we're starting really early, by the age of 7, there's a real statistical difference in their vocabulary and their comprehension, but it's so much more than that. It's just about the bond and the closeness and the relationship.
This is something that I wasn't aware of. It's that emotional connection, because you're generally, they're on your lap or they're in between your legs. Like, I have like the 3 of them now, so like everyone's trying to crane in to see the book. But it is that connection that a lot of time you're so busy that it might be the only proper 15 minutes you get in the day.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we say bedtime as well, because... And it's lovely to hear you're doing that in the daytime as well, and that the baby is there.
Oh, Eve as well in there, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so good for them. From when they are really born, birth to 3 is huge in terms of brain development. It's one of those periods, it's a bit like the teenage years when suddenly everything is really changing. And even though, OK, they might not understand what you're saying, it's the sing-song nature, they're learning about language. See, sometimes people think, oh, I'll only do it while the baby is napping. But no, have the baby on your lap there, and they're learning as they go, and they're learning from the others as well.
OK, before we get into the science of it and the benefits, I mean, parents have been doing this with their children since time immemorial.
Yeah.
So there is something in us that we've always known that telling tales, telling stories of some sort was good for them, whether it was for bonding or for whatever reason.
Exactly. And it's funny, Mark, because when we're thinking about bedtime stories, we're thinking about the books and the pointing at the pictures and whatever. But actually, even to have grandparents tell the stories of their lives to our little ones is so important. And I mean, historically, that is how we learn so much about our culture and, our families, our world, our lives, from all these stories that are handed down and exaggerated, and they change as they grow, but it's so good for them on that level too.
It is also basically a lullaby. You are lulling the child to sleep, aren't you?
It is. And it is that downtime. So you're usually in the bed or along in the bed with them, or a few of you in the one bed, and it's just that, we're bringing it down and we're having that really emotional connection with each other before they go to bed.
OK, the scientific byproducts or benefits of doing this are what?
Well, first of all, the vocab. It really improves the vocabulary. And if you think, with little ones, when we're reading books, and I think you're right, Mark, it's really pre-programmed into us. We don't just read a book. We read it in that parentese, so our voice changes. I had my little nephew, he's 14 months down from Derry the other week, and my daughter was saying to me, oh, she said, you're so funny. Should you just change completely?
Yeah.
Because everything changes in the way we're talking. But we're pointing, so we're looking at that book, and, if it's a book on animals, we're like, oh, the doggy, and we're using this language. Oh, the doggy, what does the doggy do? Bark, bark. We're putting on voices, we're imitating, but they are learning. And then sometimes we're going, oh, he looks like Granny's dog, doesn't he? So we're relating it to their world. We're making it relatable. We're pointing, we're reiterating the language. And if they say, oh, look, the doggy, we're going, oh, yes, the doggy barks. We're extending what they're doing. So it's absolutely a learning process. It's no wonder that their vocabulary is better. It's no wonder that their reading comprehension is better. In terms of them categorising materials, categorising their world, it is so much stronger. It helps
them to recognise the world around them as well. It puts a name on the things around them.
Absolutely.
So you can start from birth, basically, part of your routine.
Yeah, literally from birth. And don't forget, books are a great learning opportunity for any little issues that might be in the world. You think about when they're starting school, what do? We get them the books on starting school. If they're having any emotional difficulty, we get the books in. As they get older, great way for introducing difficult topics and things about diversity, inclusion. things that maybe we're not going to sit down and say, well, now let me tell you something about diversity.
Yes.
We get a book and we start reading, and they're seeing different characters and different lives, and they're learning as they're having fun. They're learning. They don't even know they're learning, but you're introducing so many emotional aspects of life and difficult, challenging times.
Typically, say, you know, an 18-month-old or toddler, they're going to want the same book again, though. Is it important to kind of introduce
And
lots
again.
of new ones? Yeah.
And
Is that
again.
repetition? There's
And
probably
again.
comfort in that, is there?
There is, definitely, Karen. And as you say, Mark, yeah, they want their favourites. I would always say try to introduce new books, but they nearly all have the favourite.
Do you know, it was so funny. Finn, who's just turned 4, was literally reading along. It might have been the Gruffalo or something. I actually thought he could read. Because it was like he was reading this. I was like, can you read already? But it is that, he knows it by heart. And I think that's a comfort to children. You know, it's
Definitely.
predictable. They like a predictable world, don't they?
Oh, they do,
Yeah.
and it is. And it's a routine reinforcement. So when he's reading that to you, so if you go tomorrow night, oh, Finn, you should read tonight. Why don't you read to the others tonight? And he will read. He will, because he knows the story, he knows what's happening, and then he can add his own little bits in. You know, that is bonding. Like, it's such a lovely family time.
Mary, in terms of question for you, I read somewhere that when we're doing this and that we have them on our lap, that the closer we hold them, the better it is, because from an acoustic point of view, they're hearing the reverberation of our voice. And well, you're getting the contact, which, let's face it, all babies love with their parents and parents love with their babies. But there's actually an acoustic reason why this is soothing for them. Is that does that make any sense?
Definitely for babies. And I love the way, Mark, you nearly go into your DJ voice as you said that.
Well, my wife says if you want to put a baby to sleep, just have me droning on for 5 minutes. Works every time.
Keep going.
But no, I mean, is there a scientific basis for that?
Oh, yes, for babies, definitely. I mean, babies love to hear your heartbeat. I mean, they've heard that heartbeat in the womb, particularly with the mum. It's what they know. And they know your voice. So definitely there is, there is an awful lot of the time there's research behind this thinking, but I mean, it works, definitely.
And there's such a great variety of books that have texture, that have little flaps. You know, Dear Zoo is a big one in our house, you know, and already Eve is loving to kind of, because she knows now I've been lifted flaps, so now that's her job to do. And it's important even to let them turn the page, things like that.
Exactly. So exactly, all these things, I mean, a lot of the board books when they're very little are for that reason. And they're learning so much about their environment as they're doing this. So, and as you say, they're turning the books, they're learning how to read, they're learning about language, they're learning about the fact that, our words go from left to right. So they are learning the fundamentals of reading as they're just relaxed close to you in your arms.
Later in life then, sorry Mark, I keep talking over you today.
Go on.
When they get older then, what are the kind of important pointers then? I mean, you mentioned something, dialogic, I've never heard of that. What's that?
So that is, when I'm reading to you, I'm actually engaging in dialogue. So we're not just reading the book, I'm asking you questions. So with older children, wow, why do you think she did that? Or, oh, would you have done that? I'm not sure I'd have done that. What do you think you would have done in those circumstances? Ask them to come up with a different ending. So you were mentioning Disney earlier.
Yeah. There you go.
And I know, like, I would say, well, you know what? Yes, OK, Cinderella went to marry her prince, but actually, maybe she thought, oh, no, but those wonderful animals that helped me, I think instead I'm going to go and study and be a vet. We may get married later, but what do you think? Challenge their thinking a little bit too. You get them to think of different endings. And they love that. And as you're saying with Finn, when he knows this book so well, and if you get them thinking about what else might have happened or what other animals and they're all in there, so they're developing it themselves. And don't forget our libraries. I just wanted to say that one as well, because the research shows there are very different numbers of books in different homes. We kind of make assumptions. The average, I think, in America is about 61, but some families report they may only have between 1 and 9 books in their home. So libraries, and I just have to take the opportunity to say
World Book Day last week, of course.
It was, exactly, and the libraries are a fantastic resource. First of all, no more fines now.
Yes,
for some of us. That's great.
For some of us who are lazy about that.
Very good. But also, you can keep the books as long as you like now. You can keep renewing them unless somebody else is looking for it. So it's wonderful. Get to your library. Even if you're thinking, OK, I want to introduce a new topic, see what they have. They'll order books in from any other library in the country and kind of deliver them to your local library for you. Great resource.
By the way, we're talking about, children's stories. Gruffalo, obviously, is modern classic, etc. But they don't have to be fictional. stories in primary colours.
Yes.
They can be non-fiction.
Yeah, particularly for the older ones, non-fiction can be wonderful. So you're introducing nature, you're introducing science, history, exactly. And again, sometimes to really get them thinking about their world. So again, a historical topic. Even sometimes, in schools they do the Under the Hawthorn Tree.
I remember that. I loved that.
I remember sobbing.
It stayed with me a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our children, our understanding of what the famine really meant by reading that story, it shifts it. So, and I know that was fiction, but even still, you're looking at a topic and you're really developing their understanding of the real world. And I'd love the listeners, one thing I wanted to do was on my Facebook page, I'd love to know what their children's favourite books are. I'm hoping to compile a list, so I'd love if they would contribute.
Great, yeah.
So Dr. Mary O'Kane, Early Years, if I get that little plug in,
Okay.
I'm going to put up a post later and I'm hoping to get some feedback on what the real favourites for different ages
Well, we have a
are.
vast constituency of pregnant mothers watching this programme,
Yes.
all going, OK, what happens? All right, we know
Or
about
on
everything
maternity,
leading up to
yeah.
it. We're on maternity.
Yeah.
What books do we get them? What
Yes,
age do we
yes.
start them on? Which
It's a
books,
lovely
etc.?
present for a
Gonna
baby
listen.
shower. A little book.
Oh,
Lovely
yes.
present for an expectant mum.
OK, Mary, thank you for the time being. Mary's going to stay back, or is going to stay with us. She'll be back after 10 to answer any of your parenting queries. You can still send them in. Still time to do that. irelandam@virginmedia.ie, and we will do our best to get through as many as possible when she's back.
Now, coming up next, we will have your essential guide to race day style. Stay with us.